MacVoices is supported by Raycon, the makers of quality earbuds. Get 15% off your order at buyraycon.com/MacVoices. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, this is the second in a two-part conversation with Mike Potter on MacVoices Live about the success of Virtual Macstock 2020. In the first edition, we started down the path of talking about some of the tools, where Mike got some of his ideas, and how it all came together. This time, we dig a little bit deeper into some of those subjects, a little bit geeky and a little bit not, talk about the social aspects of things, and what Mike did to make this feel as close to Macstock, real live Macstock, as he possibly could in a virtual environment. So let's get back. The conversation includes Mike, of course, as well as David Ginsburg, who acted as the chat host at Macstock, Virtual Macstock, and Frank Petrie, one of the attendees. So here we go. So I want to echo one more time that what an amazing job David did, as sort of moderating the chat and keeping everything going and answering questions and making sure that when the speakers came on live for their Q&A sessions that, he was feeding the questions from the audience, that were popping up in the chat. And to everyone's credit, I think there were a couple of people in there even helping David make sure that he saw the questions. It was that, once again, that whole community feel. But you had, did you call it a speaker's lounge? I'm thinking of it as a green room, but speaker's lounge,
green room,
where some of us came and hung out there for a good bit of the time to, to see the speakers come and go. And I kind of get stuck there because it always seemed like there was somebody I wanted to talk to there, as opposed to going over into high fidelity. So, but again, that was so smooth. It felt like Macstock.
Oh, we had a blast. I thought it was a lot of fun, and I even pulled off bringing in a special guest. So Mr. Barry Folk got to make an appearance in the lounge as well. So I thought I would put a smile on Mike's face, and it did. So that was a lot of fun too. So
well, again, that's one of those organic things. That was not how it was supposed to work. It just was, in my mind, the week ahead, this was not how it was supposed to work. It was supposed to be, we have this room, Dave's in there, I'm in there, and speaker A, B, C come in, and then they go away. They come in and they go away. That's how it was supposed to work. And then just very organically, I think Mike Schmitz was the first one in, Dave. I think he was in.
Yeah, he was out jogging. He was drenched in sweat.
He was drenched in sweat
from a run, and he's sitting there talking to us. I'm like, no, wow, you're dedicated.
But folks just came into the room and they hung out there, and it made for a very natural conversational type Q&A session. Now everyone allowed the presenter of the half hour to answer the questions that they had to answer. Nobody was trying to step on anybody's toes or anything. So that worked really, really well. But just having folks hanging out in there was cool. And at one point, Chuck, you said, hey, I can't believe it's already 3:00, or whatever you said. I can't believe it's already this late and the day's almost over. And I said, I know. we're pushing 5.5 hours, and it didn't feel like it. And part of it was thanks to everybody who's hanging out in that room and essentially keeping Dave and I company while talks were playing. Now, I'll admit, and Dave knows this, but all that stuff was recorded. Everything that happened in that green room was recorded that day. Everything, Chuck. Everything.
Didn't do anything.
Everything was recorded. So it's all out there. And if there's some interesting conversations, maybe I'll release them on YouTube or something just because. But, the truth is, I didn't have your permission or anybody's permission. I'm very sensitive to folks' privacy. So I didn't have your permission to release those conversations. So in all honesty, I probably won't. And if there is something really interesting in there, I'll reach out to somebody and say, hey, do you mind if I do this? Right. But the stuff that happened live in the live stream and everything, that, everyone was open and receptive to having that all go out. And what we did is, and someone called it the green room. I don't know if you were the first one to call it that, Dave, but someone called it the green room And that stuck in my head because that's exactly what it was.
Right. Yeah.
And so when we did take a break at 2:30, we just left it going. It stayed on us, and people were coming and going. We had a really nice conversation. We talked about the design of the Macstock T-shirts. We kind of talked about some of the history of Macstock. We just talked about. I don't even want to bring up what Brett and Brittany were talking about, but we're all really interesting conversation. That's all out there. People can watch it, but yeah, really interesting conversations. And then we just kind of went. The break was over, and we went right back into the presentation, into the schedule. So yeah, it was super cool. And for that, to bring the presenters in, I used Jitsi Meet, which is a free open source platform. You can either use their free hosted version, which is Jitsi Meet, or you can download and run it on your own server, which again, a week before was a little too much for me. I wasn't going to do that. But using the Jitsi Meet worked out perfectly. It's a very, very capable platform. There's a couple things I would criticize it for, but because it works so well, I even hesitate to mention what those criticisms might be, because everything else about it was just perfect. It worked wonderfully. So I would recommend that. And that's another thing that I borrowed from one of the virtual conferences that I attended. I noticed that they were using Jitsi Meet, and that's when I first found out about it, and that's what we ended up using.
And I admit that when you told me you were using Jitsi, I thought, oh, okay, I'm not familiar with that. How stable is it? Is it going to have a user interface that's going to be not comprehensible, but easy to figure out? And the answer to all of it was yes. It worked flawlessly.
They've been around forever. That Jitsi's been around a really long time. I didn't know that. Yeah.
I mean,
interesting.
Other than your internet bounced a couple times in Jitsi, because that was good that you had triple backup. But
I had triple backup. Yeah. It did once. We had one bad glitch with the internet. Unfortunately, while we were trying to get Jay in for the Q&A, and we got that all ironed out, got his Q&A done, but everything else ran very smoothly. Yeah. The live stream never broke throughout the day, which was 5 hours and 45 minutes plus. I think we ended up almost 7 hours total live streaming, and never. Oh no, I'm sorry. We weren't 7 hours live streaming. We were 7 hours in Jitsi Meet, and never just that one glitch. One glitch. Solid. Knock on fake wood. One glitch. It was awesome.
Yeah, and that, as I recall, that was more of an internet hiccup than a Jitsi hiccup.
It wasn't Jitsi, yeah, because you guys were all still in the room.
Yeah,
right.
You would freeze.
That dropped out.
You'd be frozen there. I'm like, Mike, you still there? You still there? And that I said, because I know your challenges with your internet connection in the office.
Yeah,
I was like, that's got to be it.
It was the connection I feared was going to have trouble, and that's why I went with a different connection for the live stream, and that one never broke. So I think that pretty much answers the question of whether I should stay with this company or not for my internet.
Time to move on.
I want to make sure that I say this before we run out of time, but if you are thinking of producing a virtual conference, you really need to go and watch. And I know it's going to be a long commitment, but that 5, 6, 7 hours stretch, and watch just everything that Mike did and how smoothly it went. And you will find out what is possible with a live stream, and then go and research a little bit of high fidelity and see if that fits your needs. But this was an amazing platform and an amazing combination of things. And I want to make sure we get Frank Petrie in here, because Frank was an attendee, and so he's hearing us give Mike all these kudos and discuss everything. But Frank, as an attendee, talk a little bit about what your impression was.
And make sure you butter up Dave too, because Chuck and I both buttered up Dave. And what he doesn't know is we have a big request of him coming later. He doesn't know that, so we have to keep buttering him up. So you got to butter him up too.
Yeah, no, it was. Can anybody see me? I don't see me at all. I'm looking at Mike.
Sorry, I apologize.
We hear and see you.
No, I'm looking at the Zoom app. No, it was fantastic. The neatest thing, I sure want to go back. I was listening to you guys earlier. For the people that aren't familiar with high fidelity. The quickest way you can get an idea of what it is go onto YouTube, type in binaural audio. Now, binaural audio is 360-degree audio. Now, then close your eyes and picture a drone, and you're looking straight down, and you can see all the participants. And that's exactly what it's like. It's strange. Visually, you're seeing it from above, but audio-wise, you're right on the ground. It was incredible. Dave was hilarious to watch because I've worked on stage and stuff like that and on television, and trying to get everybody trying to get everybody ready to hit right away so the show flows smoothly. That's an incredible job that he pulled off. I mean, that is one of the toughest things to do. I remember working a festival once. We had some name singer like Don McLean or something like that, and he wandered off in the woods just to be by himself and play. And we're like, he's up next, and we had like 8 people scouring the woods looking for this guy. But Dave was able to get everybody through, everybody on time, everybody was happy. And Mike, the fact that you pulled this off, at least my idea is your concept probably came in, it had to come in after the pandemic. But the fact that you pulled it off and it went so smoothly is an incredible testament to what you did.
Amen.
I mean, it for all intents and purposes, and I know what was going on behind the scenes, it looked for all intents and purposes like you had worked on that idea and that setup for at least half a year, if not longer. It just went that smooth.
Well, thank you, Frank. That nice. Means a lot. That was very nice. Yeah, it means a lot to me to hear that. I assure you, I did not. Yeah, no. These kind of things. We had the conversation about T-shirt designs and how I come up with the designs and how much time I spend on them and all that kind of stuff. And it wasn't on my mind quite that long, but I'd say probably before I started seriously focusing on it, it probably was about 6 weeks that it was. I was trying to work out how I could make it happen. Before I announced it to anybody, before I told anybody I wanted to do this, I probably had it on my mind maybe 3 to 4 weeks, somewhere in there, maybe about 3 weeks. I had it on my mind. How can I make this happen before I announced it? When did I announce it? I announced it just because Dave kept telling me, Dave kept saying, yeah, you're running out of time. You're running out of time, Mike. You're running out of time. I'm like, I know. And so I think
you needed a little nudge.
I know. I think it was about 2 weeks prior I announced it officially, right? But I would say probably the night before was when the last little Tetris block slipped into place and the line cleared off, was when there's an old reference for you.
Yeah.
Talking about Badger.
Yeah.
Tetris. There you go. Tetris reference.
I know that. I know that one.
Yeah.
That one he knew, yeah.
Yeah. That last block slipped into place the night before. And I didn't want to put out that newsletter announcing it until I knew that I could make it work. And anyone who's seen me behind the scenes with Macstock Prime, Macstock proper, knows I get really focused on what has to happen and when it has to happen and how it has to happen and all that. And I did not expect that to be the case with Virtual Macstock, and that's exactly what happened. My brain switched into this, okay, by this date I have to have this done, and by this date I have to, and it just kind of started clicking. It really started to feel like Macstock.
It was amazing. The thing I loved most was watching you sort of assemble the whole thing in between speakers because you nothing rattled you at all. You were just so calm. It actually, now this shows my age. It reminded me the days of cable access television. When cable when cable first came in, for those of you who weren't born then, when cable TV first came on, it was mandatory by federal law that you had to have. Is it really?
Oh yeah.
You had to have a local station or at least one channel set aside or one bit of frequency so that the locals could put together shows. They could do anything they want, community meetings, stuff like that. And you saw some like really, really bad stuff. And people would just flip out. But Mike was so smooth. Actually, it almost became a point in the show. I remember watching it that I was looking forward to your parts, Mike, because you were just so calm. It was like, I want to see him flip out. I want to see him. He's going to have a breakdown at some point. But you were just so calm about it. And then I think at one point you were sort of like making fun of it and stuff.
Yeah, when the connection went out, I was trying to get it back. Yeah, I think I was at that time.
That was incredible.
Today's edition of MacVoices is supported by Raycon, the makers of true wireless earbuds. I've been using a set of Raycon Everyday E25 wireless earbuds for a few weeks now, and I can tell you that they compare very favorably with other premium wireless earbuds, and they start at about half the price. 6 hours of playtime keeps me going, whether I'm listening to music or podcasts while doing other activities, or on conference calls during the workday. They sound good to me as the one that's wearing them, and apparently they sound good to those I'm talking to, because often I'm asked what I'm using. The Bluetooth pairing is simple and seamless, and the compact fit gives you a great seal and sound, so that you aren't distracted by whatever distractions are happening around you. Founded by Ray J, Raycon earbuds are a favorite obsession with celebrities like Mike Tyson, Melissa Etheridge, and Brandy, and for good reason. With a variety of color options for both the earbuds and the charging case, Raycon earbuds look as good as they sound. Find out just how good by giving them a try now. With a 45-day return policy, a year's warranty, and free shipping and returns, you've got nothing to lose and everything to gain, and at a price you'll love. Now's the time to get the latest and greatest from Raycon. Get 15% off your order at buyraycon.com/MacVoices. That's buyraycon.com/MacVoices for 15% off Raycon wireless earbuds. Once again, buyraycon.com/MacVoices. Thanks to Raycon for their support of MacVoices.
The pre-recorded talks was a great idea. I know a lot of virtual conferences have done that. I think that makes it in itself, it made it so much easier for you. And
took a lot of the burden off.
It really did, because you think there would be there's already pressure on me and me managing the chat and getting the questions. That had the pressure of having live videos to doing that. I mean, we witnessed it just prior with WWDC. I mean, Apple just did an amazing job and they pulled it off. So
those were all pre-recorded.
Those are all pre-recorded. So I think that was I'm glad you decided to stick with that, because it really worked well, and you had everything synced. In fact, like you said, Brittany Smith's talk was you were at the final hours of getting that converted, so that kind of through you off there for a moment, but you pulled it off. I mean, you still pulled that off. I just couldn't believe it. Yeah.
Brittany's talk, I swear. Brittany
Smith.
That was it was more trouble today. I had more trouble with it today. I couldn't get the stupid thing. It kept crashing my computer every time I was trying to convert it.
She's haunted.
Brittany.
Well,
she's haunted. Oh,
yeah, but and you're right, David. We see a lot of conferences do that, and it makes so much sense, because that not only takes out the problems Mike could have, but it also takes out the problems that the presenter could have. I mean, Mike could have a rock solid internet connection and be, 5 by 5. Mm-hmm. And, if I'm having a thunderstorm here and I'm up next, I'm sweating. And that means Mike's going to be sweating.
Right.
And so if I miss my Q&A session, Well, Mike can backfill, or he can advance the next speaker or whatever, and
Right.
recover from that. But if you don't have the talks recorded, man, you can have a great big gaping hole in there,
Yeah.
and suddenly Mike's trying to do the soft shoe to fill in.
Oh yeah, I mean we lost we here at the house we lost internet. I see sun is going down, so I'm getting darker and darker here. We lost internet here at the house about, I think it's an hour and 15 minutes before I was supposed to record the sessions with Josh and Jay. And so it was a scramble to gather all my stuff together, get up to the office, set up the studio, get everything ready to go, and be ready for when Josh was scheduled with me to do his Zoom. His Zoom call, and we pulled it off, but none of that shows. None of that shows because it was all behind the scenes.
You never would have known.
The great thing of having the pre-recording, I think, is that you have such perfect time management at that point.
Right.
Nobody can accidentally go long. There can be no 20-minute flubs of people talking to each other in between on the stage. It's boom, 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 boom. The trains run on time.
Or as on time as I allowed them to run. Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, okay. Now to that point, you ended up creating sort of a flow. I mean, there was something about it that didn't feel like this may crash and burn at some point. There was just a really smooth flow to the whole thing. That was very, very nice.
Yep. I do that with regular Macstock, and I did that somewhat with Virtual Macstock in that when I put the schedule together, even though it is announced a few weeks out, I know what the talks are going to be, and I try to pair them up so that they flow better. I don't know if that's, my English degree coming out and working on term papers and all this stuff, but I try to pair them up so that they flow well.
Well, the thing is, I just know that in between, if you're watching on stage, and I know this from having worked in AV at one point when I was in college, in between speeches or talks, people get crazed changing microphones, making sure their slides are right, and this and that.
Yeah.
You didn't have that aspect with the virtual setup, which was nice because, you had your occasional, technical glitches or problems, but you made fun of it, and it just made everything smooth, as opposed to me watching someone on the stage going, where do I plug this into? Where's my slides? No, that's not my slides. And it just was smooth that way.
And that happens. And the problem at Macstock proper is that it's all on stage for everyone to see. I thought of this when Chuck was complimenting Dave on the job he did. I would be remiss in bringing up Brian Henson, or not bringing up Brian Henson, I should say, because Brian is kind of the right-hand person at Macstock proper.
Yeah.
He's the one without whom I wouldn't be able to pull off the weekend, because he's the speaker wrangler. He's the one who makes sure everyone is mic'd up. He's the one who makes sure that they have their presentation on the notebook, or that their iPad is connected, or their notebook is connected, or what have you. So while I'm flitting around, doing whatever it is I'm doing behind the scenes, he's also behind the scenes, and it's super important to Macstock proper. And Dave stepped into that role with Virtual Macstock and really took all that pressure off of me for that too. So yeah, it really is a team effort. And the biggest part of the team with Macstock and Virtual Macstock alike is the folks who attend. The presenters are, of course, huge part of it, arguably the biggest part of it. But you could also argue just as well that the attendees are at least equal to that in terms of their importance to the weekend. And it's one of those things that just makes it the community event that it is.
I'm sorry.
go ahead, Frank.
If I could ask, just out of curiosity, how was attendance for virtual Macstock comparative to, as you call it, proper Macstock?
Yeah, Macstock Prime. I'm going to start calling it Macstock Prime.
Okay, Macstock. Oh, so the prices are going up.
I read it. Well, okay. One, the prices are going up. I told everybody that the price is going up because next year we're going to have 3 days instead of 2. So there aren't any surprises. The prices are going up. So
you have to cover 3 days.
Remember that. But
I usually knock you off a week, so
yeah.
okay.
And I did register Macstockprime.com, so nobody can take that. So yeah, Macstock
Really?
Prime is. I did. You
So
wouldn't believe.
Do you also have Macstock Virtual?
Yeah, you wouldn't believe how many Macstock domain names I have.
I can imagine.
It's incredible how many I have, and I just registered
Macstock
2 more the other day.
Macstock Bilbo.
I'm sorry. What was your question, Frank?
I don't even remember.
Oh, how many? How many people?
Relative. Was the turnout more for virtual as opposed to Prime, or?
It was. Yeah. So it was last year's Macstock. We had just over 200 people attend.
Right.
Now, if you go back to Macstock 2015, we had about 80. So we've been growing at an incredible rate every year. As the word gets out, as people find out about it, they want to come out to it. And we, with the pre-sales, the Cyber Monday sale, gosh, we were on track to beat that for this year. And all those folks who bought a ticket, you're all coming to Macstock 2021, or the next time we meet in person, you're all going to be there. You got a ticket for it. Virtual Macstock, we had, I don't have the exact number, but it was approximately 275 people attended.
That's great.
Now, what was the furthest place that somebody was from? Do you know?
Australia.
Yeah, Australia.
Wow.
Yeah, we had Ian, I no last names, but Ian from Australia, who came to Macstock last year, attended, but there was actually another person, unrelated to Ian as near as I know, who came. And at least one other. And so I'd say that's probably the furthest as the crow flies.
You need a lot of pills to stay awake for that.
Yeah, no Antarctica. Yeah, it was 3 a.m. I think I heard him say it was 3 a.m.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that I mentioned Guy Searle's in the chat room, and he said that I was clueless about what was going on behind the scenes. And I think that may be the best way to recognize that that's how seamless it was. For better or worse, it was completely seamless.
Yep.
Guys, we're out of time. This has been a whole lot of fun, but I want to make sure we let folks know where they can find you when we're not here talking about Macstock, because we will be back talking about Macstock more. There's no question about it. As Mike figures out what he's going to do next and how, and hopefully we can all look forward to Macstock 2021.
This either means I'm crazy or the gears are turning. It's one of the two.
Both. It's the little wisps of smoke coming out of your ear. That's right. The other way.
That's right.
Mike, where can we find you?
I would like to say MacstockPrime.com, but I don't have that set up yet. So it's you can go to Macstock Conference and Expo.com or MacstockConference.com. That'll take you to our main website, and that's probably the best place to find me. And if you want to find me on Twitter, it would be at Macstock Expo.
Great. Thanks so much for coming and doing the wrap-up. It seems kind of weird to wrap up a virtual conference, but this was a great discussion, I think, and hopefully some folks will be intrigued enough to go and take a look at it and start paying attention for next year, because it's going to be a blast, no question.
I think if it didn't feel as much like Macstock as it did, this would feel a little strange, but because it really did keep that feel, I think a wrap up is very warranted, because it was such a blast. I had so much fun.
Yeah, I think we all did. David, where can we find you when you're not hosting the chats for Virtual Macstock?
You can find me on my podcast, In Touch with iOS, at intouchwithios.com. I'll also do a show with Guy Searle on Wednesday nights on Facebook, Facebook Live, Mac to the Future Go, as well as you can find me on Twitter at DaveG65.
Great. Thanks so much for being here, Dave.
Thanks for having me.
Frank, I know where the folks can find you, but where can they find you when you're not trying to get your camera working?
Actually, it wasn't the camera. It turns out the Zoom app had corrupted. So I had to re-download the whole app. But usually you can find me at Mike's house washing his car.
Oh, at my house? I haven't washed my car in like 3 years.
You know, I tell everybody that I wash my van once a year, whether it needs it or not.
Okay.
But no,
And
I can
anywhere-
be found on I do a monthly review on Screencast Online usually. And I can also be found on ympnow.com.
Great.
And socially anywhere at F. Petrie.
Terrific. Thank you for stopping in, Frank. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is MacVoices Live. We will be back again next Tuesday to do it again, 8 p.m. Eastern. We'd love to have you join us, as David and Frank did. We will most likely have a featured guest, and you can come in and chat like we are here. Until the next time, and as always, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you MacVoices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CashFly at cashfly.com.